cutting new sidewalls for the door slide because these are too thick. We lose too much space because every inch in the van is like a foot in the normal house. So we're going to reduce the thickness down to 3/4 inch and see if that works. So we'll gain quite a bit of space by using 3/4 inch instead of, about 1.5 inches. So I'm moving the drawer slides onto a thinner piece of wood. It will be this 3/4 inch plywood. I've placed the drawer slide on the wood and traced all of the bolt holes onto the plywood, and now I've put both sheets together and clamp them, and I'll drill straight through to make sure I have matching holes for each side of the drawer slide. Then I'm going to hammer in T-nuts, and a T-nut is basically just a nut that actually goes into the wood that you hammer in, and that keeps it flush with the wood, so it saves some space. These are excellent. You just have to plan ahead when you're going to use these. These are awesome. Looks like there's going to be enough clearance for that bolt head. These drawer slides are excellent. Doing the prototype and now finalizing them in the van, they keep impressing me because these guys thought about everything. They bent this piece enough so that it has clearance over a pretty good sized bolt head. Very cool. Okay, so I know that works. Getting a lot of tear out on the other side. Just put that board underneath just so I don't get so much tear out when I push through. Ooh. Also, all of this wood will be finished with urethane or polyurethane, spar urethane or polyurethane before the van is final. I got to seal it from moisture. Got to keep that mold away. You see me pausing here for a moment because I'm thinking to myself, which side do I hammer these in on? It'd be terrible if I hammered them in on the wrong side. I'm not even sure it matters, but this is going to go on here like this. this is going on the other side. So these have to be hammered in on this side. Yeah, those are the silly things that just make me pause and be sure that I'm doing the right thing. Because sometimes backing up's pretty hard. All right, that's the second one. Now, the reality is, I will probably go back after this later and loosen those up and probably put Loctite on each one just to be sure that in the earthquake that is the van, we don't end up with things getting loose after a while. So, all right, keep working. Another simple, helpful hint is to be sure to mark the holes you're going to drill or modify. I see I put that little black Sharpie mark right there because you see on this side the holes, these three, starting on the ends, are lower than the center holes. Now if you look on the other side, the holes on the ends are higher. So it could be real easy for you to come over to the drill press and drill out the wrong ones and then wonder why things don't match up properly. So once you make that mistake, hopefully you don't make that mistake again. So I've learned to always mark these before I walk away from where they're installed. So that's not completely flush, but it's good enough for what we need so that these holes will line up with where they have to bolt in with the drawer slide itself. The bolts that I was using, the heads are sticking up too high and these bolts did not match up anymore. So, simple solution. Flathead bolts and putting a taper on the hole. Remember, that metal is sharp after you do that cutting. Always use some kind of lubrication, otherwise you may very quickly dull your bit down, which I have done in the past. So now all of those angles are cut. I'll clean these up. Of course, I'm not going to brush them off with my hands because then that sharp metal would definitely cut into me. Okay. So some of these I have drilled through. see how long that bolt is? They go all the way through the floor, and there is a riv nut in the body of the van. So this is bolted directly down to the body. Now, I did not do that with every single one of these bolts, but I did it with several to be sure that this drawer slide will be able to handle the 485 pounds the slides are rated for. Also, you notice I angled this inside. That made it a lot more difficult to build, but I did not want this L on the outside because I expect to put containers here that I'll slide in and out, and that would end up, this would end up in the way. I keep running into that as I was packing and unpacking the vehicle. So, gotta make sure I put it in right. I have put them in backwards before and had to take the bolts out. Oh, that's not the right screw. Yep, the other thing is, that's the bolt I used in the beginning, and this is the bolt I'm using now. Having it go much closer, much more flush with the metal is very important because I need that in order to line up the bolts that go with the drawer slide on the other side. When the drawer slide was actually on top of this bolt, the holes didn't line up properly. Very difficult to get in there. So this will solve that problem. Nobody will see this. It's kind of invisible engineering, you know, putting this underneath so it's not in the way, putting the riv nuts in the body, putting the T-nuts on the other side of the plywood. Most people would just put wood screws and drill it in, but that's not strong enough. That's just not going to work. So, as you look at my videos, there are certain things that I tend to overbuild, and I want the base and structure of this stronger than the drawer slides themselves. Alright, I'm going to need 3 more. And I don't need these anymore. No, I'm going to need 1 more of these. I may have said this earlier in this video. These are Simpson strong ties. They're found where you would find the materials in the big box stores to build a deck where the wood and lumber is. If you go in the hardware section, you're going to find angle iron, but it's going to be much thinner. So these are much heavier duty, and they're actually less expensive. Another thing to mention, which I'm sure I'm going to mention many times, always start your screws by hand. Make sure you have all your screws, or bolts in this case, in by hand, and put them all in first before you start tightening things up. That will save you time and frustration. Alright, those are strong. Now you notice this one right up against the wheel well. Can't put it here because I wouldn't be able to put the bolts in on the other side. So that's as good as I could do. And then in the back here, there is another bracket that will also go in, which also has a T-nut on the bottom. And you'll see this bolt right here goes through into the floor of the van and holds that plywood in. So this thing is strong. It's going to be definitely, the foundation is going to be stronger than the 500-pound drawer slides or 485-pound drawer slides. I don't ever expect to come even close to 400 pounds. I don't expect to sit on it, although I might, just because I can. Anyway, let's see how it fits in. All right. We're getting this in here. Got to get all these bolts started first. All right. I'd like to say it's finished, but we've only just begun, because what's next? Well, it needs to be finished. I have the edge banding on the slide, but I'm also going to put the edge banding here. Got to get it sanded down a little bit, apply edge banding, and then finish it. I also need to put the bolts through the T-nuts through here. Right now there's just wood screws holding the slide in, and as you can tell, that's not good enough for me. So I'm going to drill through, and not on all of them, but on several of them, put the T-nuts so that it's extraordinarily strong. And then it'll be done. So I got, half a dozen hours more to work on this before it's actually done. But mechanically, man, it's in great shape. So far, this is one of the most satisfying things in the build, because it took a long time, but I can see the result is going to be well worth it. That's it for the drawer side for today. I'm going to work on some other things, and I'll get back with you on the next one. Thank you for watching.